last week I brought pride flags to school to pass out to students, and we got the whole gang here. And I know they're from Amazon, but we're balling on a budget. And it's so funny the way students walk into the room, because if they know me, they'll walk in and just be like, "Hey, miss, can I get a flag?" But then there's students who don't know me, or are in a different school, because there's 2 different schools in our building, and we'll like walk in the classroom and be like, is this where I get the flags? And it's so precious. But now every day it looks like a pride parade in our hallways, and it's just the best.
If you walk into the library and you see a display that's so beautiful and so enticing, with books that you want to take home and read, we have them on display because we want you to borrow them. This is not a museum, people. Borrow a book.
A lot of the teachers and staff in my school district wear these badges so that students who are questioning whether or not they're accepted will know that they are.
A student from last year and I would coordinate our pronoun shirt. The same student came up to me on Friday to say hi. Noticed that one of my new students had a pronoun shirt too. We decided to coordinate today. A former student insisted that they send me an email to remind me to wear my pronoun shirt. We're up to 3. The goal for by the end of the year.
All right, finally I'll get into the story, but I think you know where this is going. Let me read. In school board elections across Ontario this Monday, dozens of candidates are running on promises to roll back protections for transgender students, part of a concerted effort by conservative lobby groups to undo policies aimed at addressing systemic discrimination. Is that really what they're saying? Do they want to undo protections for anybody? You know, I actually read this entire enormous article. It felt like it never ended, and never once did they actually show transphobic, anti-trans activism. Like, there was never any hate. There was never any attacks. There was never anyone saying we're going to end protections for people. That is all the projection of the fevered mind of the CBC. This is called CBC Investigates. It's more like CBC Emotes. These are their own emotions. Do you actually think in this story you will find a single candidate who is quoted, who the CBC investigated and found that they want to end protections for anyone? I'll save the time and tell you the answer is no. Let me read some more. The normally sleepy contests for trustee positions have been highly charged this year, with faith-based groups, political parties, and self-styled anti-woke organizations involved to an unprecedented degree, including providing endorsements. Oh, those are the worst. Mobilizing volunteers. Oh, they're the worst. And providing candidates training from U.S. political operatives. Hey, have you ever seen the CBC investigate U.S. or foreign political operatives when they're assisting Justin Trudeau, when they're organizing and funding anti-pipeline or anti-oil movements? I have not seen that. The CBC is suddenly interested in it. You know, I should tell you, the CBC demonizes Christian groups, and indeed there are some Christian candidates, but I should tell you that Christian candidates may be easy pickings for the CBC, but a lot of the opponents of extreme transgenderism, sex ed in schools, they're not Christian, they're not white. They're newcomers to Canada. Many of them are Muslim, in fact. Let me show you a recent meeting in Dearborn, Michigan, which is a very Muslim community. They are appalled by the extreme sex ed there. It's a little bit tough to call a room full of Muslim parents Christian, bigot, right-wing, white people. Here, just take a look at this from Dearborn just the other day.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. My name is Hassan Shami. I'm nothing but a concerned parent in Dearborn, Michigan. Guys, we want to make something clear, okay? We want to leave the politics out of this. If you're on Facebook, all you see is fear-mongering political rhetoric that this is book banning, censorship, homophobic. All it is protecting our children. We as concerned parents in Dearborn are not tied to the left, to the right when it comes to this issue. And we're not going to be used as pawns for any organization for their own agenda. We're here to protect our children. Do not fall for the political rhetoric on Facebook, on Instagram. Do not fall for the trap, because that's what they want. They're trying to smear us. They're trying to control the narrative. They're trying to say this is homophobic. Listen, there's a book that was banned. It was called This Book is Gay. And I tell you, if the book was called This Book is Straight, we're still going to go after it. Because it's teaching kids how to go online and have sexual intercourse with others on the internet. This is wrong. You do not expose kids to sexually explicit material. There's a poster right here to my right. There's a poster right here to my right that I had them cover up. I, as an adult, a 33-year-old adult, told them cover it up because I'm embarrassed to look at this. You think I want a 13-year-old to look at it? This is ridiculous. Any semi-decent human being, homosexual or heterosexual, knows when they look in the mirror that kids should not be exposed to this. Stop trying to control the rhetoric. Stop trying to make it as you guys are the victims, because this has nothing to do with it. We as parents who are raising our children are responsible for our children. Our schools will not indoctrinate our children. The progressive dogma from the top down that has public schools in a chokehold will not indoctrinate our children. People tell me, Huss, don't go up and speak. They're going to ban they're going to protest your businesses. You're going to get fired from your job. I got 3 children. My purpose in this world is to protect my kids, and that's all I will do.
Vote them out! 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 Vote them out!
Yeah, the CBC never mentions Muslims here. They're not allowed to, so they pick on Christians. I should tell you that it's actually the Muslim parents who are the most attentive to their kids. Let me read some more. For weeks, some candidates in Ottawa, Waterloo, Hamilton, among other places in Ontario, have been using transphobic rhetoric in public, portraying gender-inclusive sex education as an attempt to indoctrinate their children. Again, they don't quote any of these insults that allegedly happen, but they actually don't refute the claims by these parents, because the sex ed curriculum is extreme. By the way, I mean, you and me are grown-ups and we've been around a little bit. Can you name the 6 genders that Ontario officially teaches to? By the way, gay is not a gender. Can you name the 6 genders? Well, if you can't, then you're not as smart as a grade 6-year-old kid in Ontario who's taught it. Let me quote a little bit from the story. For example, Mark Paralovos, a trustee candidate in Guelph, Ontario, has repeatedly taken to social media to deny the existence of trans and non-binary genders. There are men, there are women, that's it, he tweeted earlier this month. Oh my God, I am so glad the CBC put their crack investigative unit on this man. We have found the trouble, someone who says there's men and women. I think we should probably censor all books that say the opposite, and that would be starting with the Bible. I'm guessing the Quran would probably be next. Another candidate, Shannon Boschy, said Ontario's sex ed curriculum was partly to blame for the rise in transgender and non-binary identifying students. Well, that's obviously true. And don't take it from me, a right-winger. Here's Bill Maher, the essential American Hollywood liberal, pointing out the obvious. Remember this?
And this is a phenomenon we need to take into account when we look at this issue. Yes, part of the rise in LGBT numbers is from people feeling free enough to tell it to a pollster, and that's all to the good. But some of it is, it's trendy. Penis equals man? Okay, boomer. Remember, the prime directive of every teen is anything to shock and challenge the squares who brought you up. It's why nobody gets a nose ring at 56. And if you haven't noticed that with kids, doing something for the likes is more important than their own genitals, you haven't been paying attention. Dr. Erica Anderson is a prominent 71-year-old clinical psychologist who is herself transgender and who now says, I think it's gone too far. The LA Times summarizes, she's come to believe that some children identifying as trans are falling under the influence of their peers and social media. If you attend a small dinner party of typically very liberal upper-income Angelenos, it is not uncommon to hear parents who each have a trans kid having a conversation about that. What are the odds of that happening in Youngstown, Ohio? If this spike in trans children is all natural, why is it regional? Either Ohio is shaming them or California is creating them. It's like that day we suddenly all needed bottled water all the time. If we can't admit that in certain enclaves there is some level of trendiness to the idea of being anything other than straight, then this is not a serious science-based discussion. It's a blow being struck in the culture wars using children as cannon fodder.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.